morning. Welcome to the special meeting of Assiniboia Community Committee for this Thursday, May 7th of 2026. My name is Councillor Evan Duncan. I'll be chairing today's meeting. I'm joined by Councillors Dobson and Councillor Lukes, as well as members of our public service and our senior committee clerk, Ms. Cowan. We have one item today. Before we get to that, I'd like to acknowledge that we're on Treaty 1 territory in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 41st Nation and Treaty 3 territory. No procedure to pass the previous minutes. No? Okay. So we'll move right into it. I'll have our clerk introduce our delegations.
Okay. Our registered delegate today is Neil Manouk, architect with DIN Architecture Inc., to be heard with respect to report 1. Neil's joining us in person today. Do you wish to speak or?
Sure.
Okay.
I have one of these.
Okay, so you'll need to plug it into the computer there. Thanks, Josh.
Unplug this? No, I could actually be on the side here.
You know, I have these little friends, right?
I was.
At the McDonald's yesterday.
Awesome.
Love you too.
Oh, we got a picture of you.
Keep coming with the Donald Trump. Oh my God.
We're going first aid.
You got more hair in you.
I know, exactly. Okay, so what time is this?
It's pretty low.
30.
Sure.
Yeah. So Neil, do you have different pictures than what we've got submitted here, or?
I have different pictures than what you have submitted there.
Okay,
Oh.
just so my other crowd could see.
I mean, they're really the only thing that's different is just the different colors. So,
We'll get to it.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, please. You have
Okay,
5 minutes.
so I'll start by thanking the councillors for making room for us and for doing this special meeting. It's very appreciated. I also should thank the public service, Maria Lubis and Mike Lazowski, the zoning development officers who have been super helpful, and the planners, Michael Robinson, Rob Galston, and Elise Finnegan, the HAF coordinator, for helping with this. So start with that. And then I'm going to talk about the qualities of the first of 2 buildings. So the thing we're going for plan approval today is for building 1 of a site which has 2 buildings, which have been rezoned. And I'm just going to talk about some of the qualities. And
Okay, wait, you're only doing plan approval on the first building?
we're only doing plan approval on the first building.
Why?
Let's let the delegate do his presentation.
Okay,
He's got
all
5
right.
minutes on the clock, and then we can do questions.
Okay.
Okay, so really the intention behind the building is to try and fit in with the residential character. And I guess a couple things: we try and decrease the scale of the building. It's a 4-story building. We try and diminish it perceptually, and we also try and break up the length of the building. And maybe the most salient thing about breaking up the length is that we do an unusual thing by having the main floor suites have exterior doors. So the main floor suites, rather than go into an interior corridor, they all open onto the street, and thereby they all have their own private sidewalks and they have their own separated landscaping. So that sort of divides up the street and creates a defensible space, actually puts lots of eyes on the neighborhood and makes the neighborhood more safer. So that sort of breaks up the length of the building. We also have these balcony baskets, which are vertical, which segment the building, so it's never longer than 35 feet. There's a whole bunch of segments in that way. Okay, so there's a legible entry here. There's 2 entries. So the entry on this side is mainly for residents that are on the main floor. the rest of the residents actually enter inside, so they don't create a lot of congestion on the street. So we've tried to sort of deal with that.
Okay, so, anyways,
I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Just give me a sec. How do we? Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is a continuation of the building. This is inside, not on the Gull Lake Street side, but the building is the same all the way around. We don't have a front and back. The main floor is brick, full brick. It's not veneer. It's not some kind of plastic brick. It's real brick. And then the rest of the building is a pre-finished heavy gauge metal siding. So EFIS and Hardy are 20-year products. This is a 50-year sort of proposition. So we're trying to make a quality building that aesthetically has a longevity and materially has a longevity. We also the grade portion that you see here is kind of a quasi mansard roof that gets brought down. So perceptually, we're trying to make the building seem smaller than it is. We also have a 5-foot eave and a gabled roof, or gabled residential roof on the top, to give it some kind of residential feel. We've got clear signage of where the building is. Let's just keep going. This is a shot which shows the second building with the first building, and the second building will be of the same language, but doesn't have the same kind of impact on the neighborhood. I should also mention that along Markham, there's a parkade entry ramp, and we've got a heavy concrete sort of protection to make it safe. We've got pedestrian pathways through the site so that we can connect Markham. So this image shows, if I can make it a bit smaller, there we go. Gull Lake Road's on the top and the left, Markham's on the bottom. These are ways that one can get through this site as a pedestrian if one wants to travel through the site, so the site doesn't interrupt traffic. Also bringing people from the site to either side. We've got a detailed landscape plan. There's a whole variety of trees and shrubs, the required number. We also have first air.
Time requested by Councillor Lukes for 5 minutes. All in favor? Aye. It's opposed, and that is carried. Please continue.
So this site, this building one has underground parking, and so many of the cars aren't seen on the site, which is a really positive thing. And we've got a couple car shares that are managed by the owner of the building. This is a detailed main floor plan. On the second floor, we've got second, third, and fourth floor. We have accessible suites. So there's 3 accessible suites in the project, and then there's 10 suites which are flexible, which can be converted to accessible suites. I think I should just quickly look at my notes to make sure we have bird-friendly glazing. So all the windows have a dot matrix pattern on them to make them bird-friendly. Just make sure I didn't forget it here. Yeah, I think in wrapping up, what we've tried to do is diminish the scale of the building, break up the length of it, and create an urban building. So create some activity on the street, probably more activity than there is on the street right now. It'll probably make the neighborhood much safer. There's going to be a whole bunch of eyes on the street. There's kitchens which look onto the windows, which are on the street. So I think we're going to make the neighborhood much safer and fit in and use quality materials and have a longevity for the project.
Thank you.
Okay.
okay.
Questions? Councillor Dobson?
How much parking do you have underneath?
I can tell you what 68 underneath.
And on the surface, how many there?
I think there's 40,
27.
27?
27.
Okay. Okay, I should know those numbers. I don't know them exactly.
Okay.
Good thing my owner's here.
And then my third question is,
And we
how
have
many?
two car shares. Two car shares.
Two car
Make
shares.
make up for a sufficient number. And this was already passed and stuff. And it's right next to rapid transit as well.
Okay. And your accessible suites, the adaptable, on this picture is listed as adaptable suite?
Yeah, so we're required to have 3 accessible suites, so those are fully accessible. And then we're also required to have 10 suites which could be made accessible in future.
So those are the ones listed as
Yeah,
adaptable?
yeah.
Okay.
And we've identified those as ones which are on the second, third, and fourth floors because of the power door operators and because of the elevator and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the access to the parkade is easier. We thought those were more appropriate places for them.
Okay, well, that's great. Thanks. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just looking at the original when we rezoned it here. So, and then we did have a change, you changed the height. Okay, so first of all, why aren't you coming for plan approval for the 5-story?
We could ask for it.
I don't know, I
I
don't know.
suppose we could ask for
They
it
haven't
for sure.
submitted, they haven't submitted plans for the other phase yet.
Oh,
We submitted plans with the rezoning and stuff. So, yeah.
so that, I mean, the idea is, aren't we trying to get this done by September? Like
Yeah.
you guys got access to funding,
Yeah.
so are we having another meeting?
The funding.
Excuse me, thank you.
Yeah,
I understand you're the
I think he
applicant.
should come up there.
No, he will. This is just a delegation.
Okay.
Appreciate the comments from the gallery, but please
Okay.
hold them till your opportunity to speak. Is there any more questions for the delegate?
Oh, yeah, lots.
Please go ahead.
Good. Are you coming back for plan approval for the tall one?
Yeah.
Okay. Before
Not that we
September?
don't have to.
They have to.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
okay. So you're here for plan approval for that 118 units with the parking. So let's look at your pictures that shows the sidewalks, how that works. Like I'm just trying to see a good drawing that shows the
Want to
sidewalks.
see them in plan?
Yeah, that's good. Okay. And so explain to me where the main entrance is.
Well, the main entrance to the building, there's 2 main entrances to the building.
Yeah.
There's one on Gull Lake Road,
Right.
which is right here.
Right,
And it's next to amenity room.
right.
And there's one on the sort of corner of the inside L, which is right here. So this is a main entry. That's where the elevators are. And this is a secondary entry here. And then on the main floor, each unit which is on the main floor has their own sidewalk, has their own covered patio, and has an entry. So, and they have their own landscaping. So that is divided up along the whole length of things. And in the corner is a barbecue area where residents can barbecue.
Okay, so that's what that thing is. Go to you've got it behind a wooden something? That's what that is?
Yeah, it's a little enclosure which creates some kind of privacy from the street, but you can see into it. And from the other side, it's open and it protects the barbecue, and it has a seating area, so you can go out there and you can barbecue and you can sit.
Okay, and then, so just let's keep on that slide. So that square thing right there where the 2 people are, that's the entrance where the sign is.
Where the sign is the entrance from Gull Lake Road.
Okay,
We would imagine that 75% of the people that live in the building would be using the other side.
Yeah.
But we have also an address on Gull Lake Road.
and what is MK1? What is that?
Markham 1.
Markham, is that what you're calling it, or
Yeah, Markham 1. The other one's Markham 2.
just because people ask, right?
Yeah, we weren't assigned an address yet by the city. So rather than put a number, which we don't really know what it is,
Got it.
we
Okay, got it, sure.
have this as a sign,
Sure.
so you can see. So we're trying to make the thing legible so that people know where to go, and
Yes,
the thing becomes not confusing.
okay. Okay, and so let's talk about the ground floor is brick. It's a brick.
The ground floor is a Belkin brick. It's a full 4-inch brick, standard brick,
Right.
on a galvanized angle, and it's a full quality.
And then,
That's around the entire building. That's not just on the front.
okay,
That's
and then the other is the metal cladding.
And the other is all pre-finished metal cladding of a heavy gauge, which has concealed fasteners, and we spent and I didn't know in the presentation, but that whole face, which is sort of meant to somehow create an illusion of a roof or some kind of bring the height down, is 1 foot off the building. So the windows actually have a 1 foot recess. So we create a bunch of different layers on here. Like if you look closely, you can read a sophistication of layers and of yeah. It's nuanced, but there's a lot of detail there.
And what color is the metal?
The metal is a stock color from Cascadia. It's a gray, and then there's a dark red.
And then what kind of material is the white and the red?
Those are metal as well, with concealed fasteners.
Same metal, same kind of.
Same metal.
Right.
We found that Hardy has a short life. People use it and it looks great for the first 10 years, and then it starts to, especially if it's not detailed well. And EFS is the same thing. It's like a 10 or 15-year product. So those projects are starting to look really worn. We want this project to not look worn in 20 years.
Okay.
We want this project to have longevity.
And then are the balconies glass or railings?
The balconies are glass.
Glass.
Yeah.
Okay. And so let's go to a map where we see the pathway, the sidewalk at the back. So how are you articulating it so that it's not just a big mesh parking spot when the cars pull up? Is there like a little fence, or is there, what is?
Yeah, there's if you want to see what that looks
Sure.
like. There we go. That's sort of what that looks like.
Right.
We have a detailed site plan with elevations showing all the grading and showing how all the levels work. We've created, if we go to the site plan, give me a second here, sorry. Let's get to the site plan. This is a pathway in from the cars, so there's sort of breaks. There's regular breaks along the parking, so you can actually access this pedestrian pathway. It's also all accessible. There's a very gentle and generous sort of entry receiving area at the front of the building, and then there's bicycle parking in the parkade. There's a room in the parkade with some storage units as well. And then there's some on-grade bicycle parking as well.
And then your garbage, where's your garbage?
The garbage is right here.
So is that private pickup or city pickup?
It's private pickup.
Private pickup.
That's the way most projects work these days. I think it's kind of difficult to make sure you have access and to have all those boxes checked.
So what are you doing? Let's talk about the pathways and sidewalks from Markham, because that's the only entrance, correct?
Yeah, Markham is the entrance onto the site. Yeah. So there's a couple of pedestrian path, sort of speed bump kind of situations, which cross over that main vehicular on either side of the main entry.
So say that again, what is it? There's
So,
speed
so
bumps?
these are like a crosswalk speed bump. Where the cars go, this is Markham to my left, right? This is the boulevard. This is the main access into the site. On either side of that, there's a pedestrian path which connects the sidewalk to the interior of the site.
Because if you recall, the residents were very concerned about the access in and out because of kids walking to the school.
Yeah, for sure, positively.
Okay,
The schools block away.
yeah,
Like the houses that are facing this look like there might be houses forever, but there's really just one row of houses and then no arch school.
and, so I'm just going to the landscaping. Is the landscaping drawing in here, or which one do you want to use?
There's multiple landscaping drawings, but I think maybe
There's not like a specific one, right? That talks about what you're planting?
yeah, we're planting a mix of
Right, but
of
there's no
trees.
drawing that's specific that states it, is there?
But we list them all. We have a. I think maybe I didn't put a detailed landscape plan in here, but we certainly have one. We've had several versions of it, and this is sort of the here. Oh, here we go.
Four.
So these are all the plants. There's a plant schedule. There's how big they are and what they do. And there's a symbol for each of them. So American elm, bucky, dogwood, sumac, lilacs.
So what are you planting along Markham? What are the ones that you're planting? On Gull. Sorry, what are the ones you're planting on Gull?
Well, it's a mix of stuff. Some stuff is covering the foundation of the building,
Right.
and creating a buffer for the residents, so that we're they're on grade. They have a sort of buffered condition. In some cases, it's shrubs. In some cases, but there's basically a tree between each of the walkways.
And what is the tree? What's the tall tree?
The tall tree is an American elm. There's a Brandon American elm.
Okay.
Oh, the bucky is actually the tall tree. It grows to 17 feet. Ohio bucky.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess I'm asking why you're going to come back again for a plan approval. I thought we were doing it all today, but you haven't submitted the stuff. That's what you're saying?
Urban has not received anything for phase two.
Right. And to get it in and have it approved by September, what's the timeline? How does that work?
We don't need to have it approved by September. We just have to have the first building approved by September.
Is that I thought it was related to the funding that they received, the half funding. I thought.
Half funding is for the first building. Half funding is for the site. We're doing the second building, but we're going for plan approval for the first building right now. And we see the first building as being the most challenging building in terms of the fact that it's most adjacent to the neighborhood, right? It's the one that's most sensitive in some ways.
So I'm not understanding. I'm under the impression that the half funding, we wanted it done. We wanted it in by September. Wasn't there a deadline of September for building permits to have it for the transit funding? Because this is on the transit corridor. No one knows anything about
I
this.
can't speak to the funding. I don't know the details of
Okay.
that.
All right.
Could we just request that somebody from the half team join us via Zoom?
Yeah, that'd be great. I just want to be clear on that. See if you
Email them,
can get
Yeah,
something.
if they're available, they can speak when the public service presents.
So the half funding is you're saying it's for the site, not specific buildings, or what?
It's for the first building.
Does your colleague want to come up here and speak to it, Betty?
Sure. Do you want to talk?
Can we register him to speak to it?
Yeah, we'll need a suspension of the
Sure.
rules since you did not register.
Move for a suspension of the rules.
All in favor?
Aye.
And me?
Opposed? Carried? We'll get,
Do you want me to remove the disc?
you can leave it up.
No,
Yep.
leave it
Okay. Okay.
Please join us. We'll just get you to fill out a form after.
Just state your name.
It was me.
And if you could just state your name.
Okay, I'll just, yeah, I'll answer a couple questions about that.
Sure.
Sure, if I could just get your.
My name's
first-
Antonio Manilo.
Thanks, Antonio.
Can you spell that?
You can use, just spell it in for us. Could you
The
spell it,
last
please?
name, sorry.
BAG.
Yep.
NULO.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so,
So just regarding the half funding.
Yeah.
So our understanding of it is it just encompasses the first building. So the funding was based on units, number of units.
right,
And so there
Right.
was a maximum, I believe, of around $10,000 per unit, and we were somewhere around the max. So we're building 118 units in the first building, and that encompasses a total half funding. And in order to receive that funding, we have to have a building permit in place by September 30th.
okay,
So the second building isn't part of the half funding.
it's not,
It's not.
okay, got it, okay.
And part of the reason we didn't apply for plan approval on the second building is it was originally when we had the land rezoned, we also applied for a subdivision. So it's two separate titles.
Yes,
So the idea was we wanted to build the first one and then phase the second one, build the second one after we get the first one done. But they were going to be separately titled. So I guess maybe we didn't understand the process or we weren't sure if that was the right way to go about it. So we decided just to not complicate things and just get approval on the first building because there was also a tight time deadline.
right,
So we wanted to try to simplify things and
Right.
just concentrate on the first building.
got it, okay. So then your plan is to start the first building soon?
Correct.
So what's your plan for the second building? We're on the record here. What, when you say you're gonna phase the second building, when do you think that'll be?
Well, realistically, with the size of the site, we probably need to have the first building done before we can start the second building. There's just not enough room to try to have two active sites going at the same time.
Right,
So we would like to complete the first building and then move on to the second building.
how long
I
does it,
can't give you an exact
Right,
date of when
no.
that would be, but
how long does it take to do the first building?
22 to 24 months.
Got it, okay. Just because people will be phoning me.
Sure.
They'll be asking me. Okay, okay. Let me just look back at the, one we've got today. And then you said you're gonna put a chain link fence up, fence it in, put a nice screen on it or something.
Yeah, our intent is to fence the entire site, with some sort of semi-permanent chain link fence, and then put some sort of fabric screening on it, rather than just a typical construction fence that's a little more of an eyesore and more of a maintenance issue, and panels falling over and that sort of thing in the wind. So try to get less of a nuisance to the neighborhood.
Okay. And so then we talked about this, but for the record, whether it's you or your planner person, we can ensure we do a flyer drop. Just, I think just like on Gull, up and down Gull, so people know. Just even just right in front of, like, right on the corner, just doing it on the corner, right? We don't have to go down Gull, but just do all the houses on the corner. What's that one, up to 237? Just those 10, 15 houses and the one couple beside it so that they know what's going on.
Sure. So if someone would give us, just tell us the area that they want canvassed, and we would
Sure.
make sure that there's some sort of notice sent out with the appropriate amount of time before we actually start anything on site.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea as well. Great
That
idea.
would be good. And then your landscape's gone, but the tree count, what are we doing with the tree count? Are we're doing the number that's required? I guess this is a planner question.
Correct, yep. Meeting the zoning bylaw for landscaping.
Sure, okay. And then you've indicated that you're going to have some of these larger ones up front, in front of each of the people's, just so that the people across the street, they've got those trees there now, they love those trees, I've heard all about every single tree there. Thanks for removing the dead ones, by the way, but they're very passionate about their trees, right?
Yeah, look, unfortunately, there's some trees there that are gonna have to come down.
Yeah.
There's a fairly generous side yard, front yard. I think it's about 25 feet. So there's
Oh.
definitely room for some new planting,
Yeah.
and so the intent was to plant these larger trees in those
Yeah.
basically those like lawns that are created
Yeah.
between the sidewalks that lead up to the ground floor units. So I believe that the number of trees we've allowed for will fill all those spaces. Putting more trees in may not work just because
No,
of
I
the
know.
size of the trees. Like
I looked what you've got here and it looks,
So, yeah, that the intent was to put in as many trees as feasible.
yeah,
But the trees that are there, unfortunately, will have to go.
yeah, yeah.
The trees on the property, not the boulevard
Yeah,
trees.
no,
Trees on the
I know. And there were some nice spruce ones there and they were all worked up about that. So, and rightly so. People are, Charleswood, you know about your trees, but we're putting more in, so that's good. Okay, so that's good. And then, so are you able to, we don't have that presentation. Are you able to submit that presentation to us? The one we have shows different, it's the same.
What's actually approved is in the plans here. So that doesn't match, but this is what
Right.
is actually on the record. So the
Right.
colors that are in the plans, that's what they'll be.
Yeah, no, we're not having the colors that are in the plans that are here. We're having the colors that they're doing here.
I think it's the opposite. Can you clarify that?
No, it's the red and the white is what the council would like, so that's what.
Oh, I see. You're changing the colors.
And
I'm
Would
sorry.
be an amendment to the plans, I assume? No, but
I
We can submit a revised elevation with the two changes of color, three changes of color.
the plans that the committee approves have to be the plans that are
right.
in front of them.
So this would be an
Yeah.
amendment, right?
It would be an
to-
amendment.
To the plans, yeah.
Councilor Dobbs,
So we do that.
question there?
Yep, during construction, this is a question that I'm sure the people on Gull Lake Road, would want to know. Access to the site during construction, is that gonna be primarily from Markham?
it'll only be from Markham. So where the proposed approach is on the site plan,
Yeah,
that's where we'll be applying for a crossing permit, and that'll be the only access to the site.
okay.
So when you've got a lot of trucks and things coming, I mean, that's sort of a common sense thing, but it doesn't always prevail in society. Are you gonna, because it's a school, are you going to be having people being very observant about the crossings and when trucks are loading and unloading?
Most definitely, but we're going to apply for a sidewalk closing, so that sidewalk will be closed basically from the
Perfect.
tracks right up to Gull Lake.
Okay,
So there
Okay.
won't. Yeah, so there shouldn't be any pedestrian traffic down that sidewalk.
yeah, there's a bus stop there.
Yeah, that will be something that I'll have to look at. I'm not sure which channel we go through to deal with transit on that. It'd be helpful to have it relocated, just because, yeah, we would like. Typically, you would look at the sidewalk, you're gonna have a crossing on the boulevard.
Yeah.
So that would eliminate access to that bus stop.
So then when you start, you'll close the sidewalk and you'll have to deal with transit and maybe relocate transit stop or something.
Well, we'll need to deal with that first before we close the sidewalk,
Right,
obviously, yeah,
right.
that'll have to be figured out beforehand,
Right,
yes. definitely.
right. Okay. Okay, you're not closing the one on Gull Lake,
No.
Yeah.
Just where the crossing will be,
right?
because that would be a hazard, having trucks coming in and out and having people trying to cross there.
Okay, yeah, and it's right by a big Markham station, so it's a super spot. It's super for this, like, it's very, very, very good. Okay, so how do we do this about the colors? How do we change the colors?
So
For the
it
record.
could be an amendment to the plans. Then the applicant will have to resubmit new plans with the new colors.
Mhm.
The public service has no objections to the change in colors.
Okay.
As long as the applicant agrees as well, then I think it's fine.
Okay,
Do we have wording that would, so committee would need to suspend the rules because what was shown was not what was provided to the clerk. So there'll need to be a suspension of the rules to consider the new material. Sir, you'll need to submit that to me as soon as possible. I don't have a record of what was shown to the committee today. So
Okay.
that needs to be sent.
No problem.
So it can
We
be-
send you what was said in committee, we can send you the revised plan with the changed colors.
We have what you said originally. It was going to be republished on the agenda, but the new material that was provided to the committee today, they would need to suspend the rules to consider it, and then you would need to send it to me electronically. Additionally, if there's wording that you'd recommend considering the changes that have been made to the proposed plans, the committee, if the committee, the public service, and the applicant are all in agreement, we can make that amendment today rather than referring the plans back to the applicant to amend.
Yes, I think the wording, we would want to specify the color of the metal panel. So if you could specify what the original color was and then what the new color is, I think that's how we'll.
I want to do that right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to come back up here, Newton?
Yeah.
Just.
Shall we take a brief break to sort this out?
Sure, if you wish to.
Thanks. We'll take a brief recess here. We'll rejoin the committee in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Welcome back to this special meeting of Assiniboia Committee for this May 7th of 2026. We're just in the process of asking the delegations questions here. I have a couple. Does anybody else have anything that they want to follow up on? And then we'll wrap on here and hear from the public service. Okay. Thanks for the delegation there. Appreciate it. I do have questions around the materials being used. At first glance, they seem harsh. And I only say this from my experience in my ward with Roblin Boulevard and a very metal-looking structure that was not popular in the community. Can you speak to the materials being selected here?
Sure. I think a lot of metal finishing seems industrial, and one of the things that makes it feel industrial largely is the number of profiles, like the number of bumps and the number of divots and whatnot. So that's a sort of thing that we perceive. But it also, those number of bumps and divots are so that they can use a much thinner metal. And then what ends up happening is the metal sort of oil cans and becomes somewhat distorted, and it sort of contributes to the whole perception of it being industrial or harsh. What we're using here is a much heavier gauge of steel, and we're concealing all the fasteners, so you don't see any fasteners. So really, it looks like a flat painted surface. So it will have an appearance like Hardy, although Hardy has fasteners too.
Sure.
So this is a flat surface without fasteners and without distortion. So my client here has chosen to spend more money and make a higher quality building. And like I say, the reveals are very limited. The fasteners are concealed, and the gauge of the metal is much higher. So it reads as a flat painted surface. It doesn't read as metal. The connotation of the revealing and of the oil canning and of the fasteners is removed.
Okay, that makes sense.
Can I ask just on that same note?
Yeah, please.
I think sometimes, I think that one on Roblin's rippled like a granary, right? I think that's the challenge
It
with
looked
that
like
one.
a grain.
Are there other buildings in the city that have this skin on it?
There's some very high end buildings that have like it's like the equivalent to, if you're familiar with something called a Luca bond. The Luca bond's a pre-finished metal panel. It's a proprietary thing. What we're doing is we're making it ourselves, or we're not really making it ourselves, but we're sourcing it in another way and making sort of what's a high-end product available to this project.
So there's no other buildings in the city that have this on it that you're aware of?
Yeah, there are for sure.
Like where?
The Chapon Ice Cream building on Osborne Street South,
Okay.
390 Osborne.
Yep.
The gray siding there is a D panel.
Mhm.
That D panel has reveals. This is going to have much smaller reveals, but that's the same material. Exactly.
Okay.
And just my final question in regards to the barbecue area there. So this is out on Gull Lake.
This is on Gull Lake.
Interesting placement. I mean, you did mention that there's seating there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just envisioning somebody walking down from their suite out the door to the barbecue. Like, we're anticipating this being utilized so far from an entrance point.
Sure. You know, my in-laws have a condominium in Naples, Florida, on a golf course, and kind of similar in some ways to this, let's say. And these are for affluent people. There's a number of barbecue areas in areas which are across from their place, and the barbecue areas get used all the time. So I don't see it being I don't see it as being I see it as being something that would be kind of nice. And it's kind of a little bit away from the building. It's away from the neighbors. It's got a shielding from the neighbors. And it's a place where you can go and have a picnic, kind of, right? How it would get operated would probably be a sign up, kind of like the car share is, where you would say, I'm going to use the barbecue tonight, you know, and you sign up with the building manager, and you would be able to use it.
I think personally, you're gonna have some challenges with it, just for a variety of reasons, but is it wood on the outside or what is it?
Would.
It is wood. Mhm.
I guess I bring it to question because you would think that these amenities would be within the property, and this kind of has the perception of being outside of the property.
It's on the.
I know it's on the property, but typically if you're having an amenity, it's within the, I'm not saying inside the structure, but, and I get that you have parking in the belly of this thing, but it just seems odd that it's sitting out on the boulevard.
It's also kind of an urban thing. I think it kind of adds another sort of activity on the street. It's kind of I think it's kind of a social thing and an urban thing. I think it's a residential thing. I would see it as being a kind of positive urban thing, personally.
Okay, well, I don't take great issue with it. I just thought it was interesting that it's kind of sitting out on the boulevard. And I mean, taking into account, although Naples is a wonderful place to visit, they don't exactly have the climate challenges that we have here. And once you have plows, clearing the sidewalks and plowing up huge snowbanks with all sorts of crap in it, then you're going to have an interesting.
Well, I kind of doubt it's going to be used that much in the winter. I think it's
right.
Probably going to be.
Yeah, find me a boulevard that's located to a street that's been sanded that looks like this. That's what I'm saying. But you know what? If you think it's great and your client is interested in putting it in, then have at her, and maybe we'll stop by and do some barbecuing with you.
I do have a couple questions.
Thank you. I appreciate
I have a couple questions about the car share.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna manage that?
My client's done the same thing at 380 Osborne. My client owns that building. It's a 72 unit, 7-story apartment building, and it's worked out incredibly well. We have a description of the car share that we submitted to Michael that talks about the cost of it and talks about the usage in relation to 380 and the structure and the admin structure. So somebody rents the car by the hour.
Is it online or where do they go?
The building manager.
Oh, the building manager.
Yeah, it's through the building manager, and it's an alternative to Peg City, but it works. It's worked extremely well at 380. There's 2 vehicles there, and the usage is high. We sent Michael the usage rates over the last year, and the costs and the administration structure.
Okay.
Nice looking building there at 380.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right. Any other questions here for our delegation? No? All right. Thank you very much. We'll move on.
Should I take this out or leave this in?
You can remove it, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So if the committee would like to suspend the rules to consider the new
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules to see the new submission, to submit the new submission.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. And now do we need a motion to receive it?
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah.
That's fine,
Okay.
okay. So I can make a motion now to approve the submitted plans with the amended submitted plans,
So
amended or?
you could move that the recommendation be concurred in with the following amendments. That the coloring of the metal panels on the building be changed from slate gray to old zinc gray.
Mhm.
And that the balcony colors be changed from sapphire blue to dark red and briarwood tan to white.
Okay,
The public service has indicated that they're supportive of this change.
sure.
I believe the applicant's supportive of this change as well. Great, so
Old zinc grade.
Say that again?
Slate grade to old zinc.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's what I said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I have this written. Yeah.
Perfect, okay.
And so as long as the committee concurs.
We did the balcony too.
Mhm, the balcony colors
Okay.
as well as part of that.
Okay, so that's the motion.
Do we need to hear from the public service at all prior to any of this being considered? Or are you ready to move?
I'm ready to move it.
Okay, great. Moved by Counselor Lukes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's carried.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn?
perfect.
Okay.
Okay, great. Motion to adjourn by Counselor Lukes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you very much for joining us for this special
Thank you.
meeting. Assiniboia.
Thanks, Tony.
Take care.
Okay, thank you very much. Looking forward to starting.